Hello, welcome to In Bed with Books, the podcast where we talk about smutty fantasy, classics, and more. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Bethany. If you'd like to find more of us, you can find us on our website, inbedwithbookspod.com, YouTube for video versions of the podcast, or wherever you pod on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
If you want to see us outside of the podcast, then head over to Instagram and follow us at In Bed with Books Pod.
Thanks for being here. Let's jump right in. Okay.
The day we've all been waiting for.
The day Melissa's been waiting for, and I've been like, we'll see how this goes. No, it was good. But before we get into the book, your voice sounds extra sultry today.
I just got over like a 3-day long head cold.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully it wasn't like anything, it wasn't like COVID or anything.
Yeah.
Once I popped some NyQuil in, it was,
You were swimming.
yeah.
Yeah.
It has left me a little behind on like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Including this, which we are recording at the absolute last minute.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it wasn't like because obviously I had like a headache and my sinuses were draining like crazy.
Yeah,
I couldn't speak for like a day.
Yeah.
So, and that was the day before we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day that we were supposed to record, I was like, I don't know that I can do this. And then you messaged me and you're like, hey, I'm not quite done on reading yet. Like, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, and
I would have done it. But...
You want to be well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if like I'm not feeling that hot, I want to make sure that you can at least understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. That something is coming out of the voice box.
Yes, exactly. That's ideal for a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's required.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a long week. I feel like I've just been going. And so I have my Red Bull and I got a candle lit. It is still like 80 degrees on October 2nd in Seattle. And I think this week's supposed to get in the 70s and then next week 60s. So I'm hoping it's going to be like done.
Good luck.
But I've yet to wear a sweatshirt. It's so infuriating.
Yeah.
In fact, we're wearing matching shirts today.
We're wearing the same shirt.
Yeah. We're wearing our
there we go.
IBWB podcast black
mine's behind the mic. Oh, there we go.
A little bit.
Can you see it now?
Up a little higher.
There
it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Cool. We got it. Yeah, we didn't plan that. It was just
no. I just did laundry. I've been wanting to like wear it on the podcast more. And so since I washed it last night, it seemed like the perfect time.
Mine is clean, but it is covered in cat hair. And there's not much I can do about
clean
that
for cat owners.
Yes.
Yep.
It's christened.
Temperature wise out here, the highest we're gonna get this week is 97, which is nice.
Fuck that.
I know.
Fuck that in October.
Yeah. That's cool. So
that's like cool, or is it that's cool?
No, like that's cool temperatures now.
Yeah.
It's cooling down. 97 is it cooled down.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. I always think of that King of the Hill like quote when the sun's like Phoenix is a testament to man's stupidity. It is. We are 100%. The fact that people decided to build civilization here is a testament to our hubris.
Yeah. It's a joke. I found it very interesting that in the book, she's from Phoenix.
That is exactly why I read it.
And
as
then
somebody
she
who had
moves
just transplanted
to the
Northwest.
Northwest.
Yes.
And I love that. I don't want to get. Are we ready to get into it yet?
Let's see. Any other things to catch up on?
I'm now officially a Discord bitch, so
yes,
I'm like all over it. So if you guys want to come hang out and chat with us, a little bit more casually.
I need to officially introduce myself.
Yeah,
on
no,
there,
that's
'cause you had,
okay.
like, started
You've
that.
been sick.
I know, and I was like, I remember seeing that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just passed back.
Yeah. Yeah. No worries. You take your time.
Yeah.
I was just feeling it and I did it. But yeah, we have kind of like a little icebreaker thing on there and roles. And then we also have like different like chats for like book recs and like shelfies. I love that. The shelfies. So
Yep.
and then we have our book club meeting on Saturday.
Fuck yeah.
Right? No, or is it next week? Because I think it's supposed to be the second week of the month.
Second Saturday of the month.
Second Saturday of the month.
The 8th.
Oh, because Saturday was the first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, because I have started reading it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on the 8th. We're reading A Duel with a Vampire Lord. By
Sorry,
Elise
I'm just
Kova.
like chugging this.
Yeah, you are. So I'm
It had
excited.
protein in it, so it was healthy.
After King of Battle and Blood, and now after Twilight, I'm very excited for more vampires in my life.
We went really intense on the vampires this time
Melissa,
around.
you have converted me. I'm like so there.
That is all I've been waiting to hear. Podcast over. That's all the point was to
Yeah.
make sure you liked vampires. Yep.
Yeah.
Mission
Yeah.
accomplished. So
But this is our last book of the season.
I know.
Season
know.
4.
This season felt like a whole hot mess.
It really did. It felt really kind of all over the place in like a good way.
Yes, I think like the biggest lesson from this time is that we definitely have our shit together,
Mhm.
because 2 seasons ago, if all of the shit that happened then happened, or that happened now happened then, we would not have been able to hold it together.
Yeah.
We managed to pull ourselves back together every
A
single
lot of
time that we
like
had
life
to.
events. Yeah.
Yeah,
Life events
yeah.
and also just like life events.
Yeah, like a big move. I spent a week in Michigan. You've traveled as well. Like, you haven't really left the state, but you've traveled.
Yeah.
You've done, like, you did that vacation with your
Went to
family.
vacation. Mhm.
Yeah, like these events were why we were taking the hiatuses, so that way we could like collect ourselves.
Yeah.
But this time around we managed to like
it like hit. Yeah, we
bounced
we
back
had to miss a
every
week.
time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, a good step for us to like allow ourselves to kind of take a step back, because I think it was season 2 and I had like lost my grandma. Luckily,
Yeah.
I had the book. It was Rule of Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the second one. I had it almost all the way read before I found out she wasn't doing well. So that was good. And then we were able to do kind of like we had recorded another episode that we were able to put up first. So it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
so like,
I mean, I sorry, go ahead.
no, that's all.
Well, I was
So
like,
yeah.
that's we're doing great. Okay. But I'm also talking about like the breaks we take between seasons.
Yeah.
We take those to like breathe and like get ahead if we can. And we kind of even did this time, but we still got behind because of everything that happened.
Yeah.
And so I think like big lesson to both of us is we got this.
We got this.
We got
It's
this.
fine.
Yes.
Fine.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Okay. Twilight. Bethany has read Twilight. Everybody.
Okay.
In my 30s.
Before we fully get into this, we need to kind of contextualize where both of us are at with this.
Mm-hmm.
So in 8th grade, I read this, and I distinctly remember at some point, because it was like I read it after the movie came out, because I saw the movie and obviously I was in love.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point, almost all of the books were out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I binged what I could. But I distinctly remember being in PE at one point and turning to this girl who I had just met, and we were just talking about something. She had a Twilight shirt on. And I can't even remember what we said, but I remember I responded with, "It's cool, Twilight brings people together." And like that moment lives in my like if my brain is a hard drive, the folder of cringe, like every night my brain clicks that involuntarily and I go through that like this kind of unfortunate montage.
Yeah.
And that is included in my montage.
Twilight brings people together.
Yes. I love that Twilight is having a renaissance, because in its renaissance it's being accepted for how cringy it is, like how icky it gets sometimes, and like we all know that he can be problematic and we all know that certain people can be bullshitty, but we're accepting it and we're letting ourselves like it, and we're not letting people tell us that like it's like bad, even though it is, but like not, it's not bad in a way that's bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There is a reason why it sold so much and people resonated with it. It was, you know, whether or not it was all together on a good page, it was like, it was still needed. A lot of people loved it because that's something that they needed, you know? And so that says something about that like generation, or you know. Well, and so I think there's kind of an acceptance now that it's like, why did we love it? Because we loved it.
Yeah, because we fucking loved it. Like, were you team Jacob or team Edward? Who fucking cares? They're both hot. They both take their shirts off. Like, if this were written by anyone less Christian, there would have been a threesome. Yeah, come on. And I do want to point out that like a good number of the like not intended, but the resulting audience was middle-aged moms who went on to love 50 Shades of Grey, which was just Twilight fan fiction.
It was one of the catalysts that brought romance into mainstream.
Yes, for better or worse. Like I don't think because like a lot of the people that are part of this like Twilight renaissance are our age, right? The fact that we are like seeing it again or reading it again as adults, full grown, like frontal cortex completely developed adults, and it's resonating with us, actually speaks to how like, and I dread to give her this much credit because it is so aggressively like hyper Christian sometimes, or like, okay, the Twilight episode of Parks and Rec where she's like, okay, so you're saying it's not Christian enough, and you're saying it's too Christian. Do you see the problem here? And that was like actual arguments that were happening at the time. So I mean, like, I do have my qualms with some things as an adult, obviously kind of reflecting back on these things. That being said, I love it. Like, I love it as much now, definitely not more than I did as a kid. I can promise you that, but as much now as I did as a kid.
Okay, how many times have you read it?
I've only read it once. I really can't read books more than once because I'm, you know how I am, because I remember details too aggressively. I can rewatch.
And you're like, this is boring because I've already read this. Whereas I'm like, oh, I didn't see that before. Like, I didn't know that.
Some of the books that we're rereading, I can reread because it's been so long.
Right.
So I didn't even finish this reread because honestly,
you were like, oh,
I was like, yep, this is all coming back to me. Yeah. But again, I like, this was a hyperfixation for me. So I have no doubt that I will not have a problem here.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay.
Yes. So
now,
yes,
someone who has seen kind of the periphery of what Twilight has done.
I can't even imagine being on the outside of that.
Yeah, on the outside of it. So of course there's always like because we all know my upbringing was like very Christian or whatever. And I think a lot of that, and just kind of the general like idea of romance at the time, or at least for me, was very much like, it's not good. Romance isn't like good literature, right? That was like how I felt. And so I just assumed that it was like, and then there's kind of that element of, if something's so popular and you didn't like get into it, then it's like, you know,
it must,
you're just kind of like,
brain.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, like, oh, come on, Twilight. Like that's kind of was always, until very, very recently. And so I never watched the movies. I never read the books, but I knew who Bella was. I knew who Kristen Stewart was. I knew who Edward was and Robert Pattinson. And I knew who, what's his face? Jacob, but I don't know that actor. And I knew it was in Forks. And I knew that they were vampires. And that's kind of was another part that kind of was off-putting to me, was the vampire part, because in like modern times, because I was just kind of like not sure how that would work. And like, I wasn't really into the urban fantasy thing yet. I was still like Middle Earth. So it just didn't seem like something I would enjoy. However, I did read it. I listened to it and I really liked it.
Yes.
And I really liked Edward and I really liked Bella. Like I didn't really think I would like her because of she's just kind of over. So this is kind of a new thing. I feel like that also Dakota Johnson, Kristen Stewart, the 50 Shades, that, for lack of better word, okay, I don't, mousy, but not mousy, you know, like just a very plain looking brown haired girl.
Yes, there's like this kind of like homely.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I hate the word mousy, but it was just the only thing I could access. But yes, very like kind of just not much. Not she like, because when you think about romance, you think, oh, like the woman has to be this like drop dead gorgeous or something, like, or
you know,
and that's
have, like the perfect curves and like
she has to be luscious, like, what all of the men want. And I love that they're like these like normal looking girls, because that's what I looked like. You know, I was brunette, and I was just like, so I really kind of loved that theme that was happening. And also, you're good. Sneeze. Wipe your nose, whatever you need to do. And so I really liked that. And then so in the book, I really loved like Bella's internal monologue. I felt like I was in high school again, you know, just having that feeling of like, well, why would anyone want to look at me? Or like, you know, so that kind of feeling that it didn't feel self-detrimental, it just felt real. That's just, those are the thoughts that you have at that age because you're so new.
And I think like it's nice that a lot of the more modern YA strays from that, but when I was that age, it was nice to see that reflected in something that I was reading, because that's how I felt when I was a kid.
Exactly.
I mean, like I think people still get those kinds of feelings as adults. I think they hurt more as a kid because it feels like you've got this long life ahead of you, kind of like it's like perpetual thing that's gonna always happen, that you're gonna always feel this way. And so I think it's really comforting to see that. And also, like, I mean, obviously we love badass female main characters on this podcast. But again, as a kid,
like we don't start that way.
Exactly. Like seeing somebody who was normal was huge.
I think like that was a huge part for me that I really liked.
Yes. And then also, not to be like super personal, so after 6th grade I moved from Michigan to Arizona, and I started 7th grade. Like we moved in the middle of the summer, so I spent the rest of that summer alone because I didn't know any kids. I started school with people who had gone to school together, because Arizona does K through 8. So when you're starting 7th grade, it's not like in Michigan, it was middle school. You would have met like 50 new people. So I was supposed to have left elementary school, but instead I joined with people who had gone to the same elementary school or gone to school with each other for years. And so like that was super isolating for me as a kid. And so then to read about her being this new student in high school, I was like, wow, that's me.
Yeah.
Which was like nice, you know?
Yeah.
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 Also, I was gonna say, if and when I go to Seattle, we're going to Forks.
Oh yeah. It's a long drive, do the whole but we'll go. Yeah.
We'll do the whole tour.
I've not been to, I don't think I've been to Forks. I've been to Forks adjacent because so Milo was born in Forks, everybody. Milo was born in Forks. He was.
No, you shut your mouth right now. You shut your mouth.
And it's so funny because Charlie's a fisherman. Milo's dad was a fisherman. It's very big. It must be very big there. I married Bella. I'm Edward. I'm the vampire. No, yeah. So he's he's very much grew up in the woods. So I have been to where he lived. He didn't live in Forks, but he lived in a smaller town than Forks, like outside of Forks, called Clearwater.
So he went to the bigger town.
His mom had to drive into Forks to go to town. Forks was town.
Oh my God.
And they would go to Aberdeen, which is like the big hub of like the peninsula.
Also, you said he was born he lived in Clearwater. That's isn't that the name of some of the, maybe we didn't meet them yet. Because in the second book, you meet some of the Native Americans from the local tribe. And I'm pretty sure some of their last names are Clearwater.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Is it Quinault?
She probably,
Quinault tribe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she probably pulled that from like the local city names.
Yeah. And like all of the names I like recognize. I was like, oh yeah, Aberdeen. Something she said, she did say weird though. La Push. That wasn't said weird, but La Push is there. So Milo's mom worked in Claylock Lodge, which is just off the coast there, and she bartended there for years, and that's how she met her new husband. And so and then so very interesting.
That just blew my mind. I cannot believe
such a small world.
Actually kept that in. Like, did not tell me until just now.
Yeah. Did I keep it in? I thought I told you that he was born.
I really feel like you didn't. Maybe you did.
Maybe.
Maybe without like.
I tell that's my Twilight story. Like whenever someone brings up Twilight, I go, "Did you know Milo was born in Forks? No way!" And then Milo talks about because he's watched the movies Twilight. Yeah. And there's apparently in the movies and kind of a little bit in the books. I was kind of waiting for it that they like kind of make fun of her for her truck. And Milo's like, they wouldn't do that. It's like it's like
everyone
the middle of nowhere, everyone has a truck.
Yeah. It's like when I went to Michigan, I went up to like essentially like the same kind of environment in northern Michigan as like what I saw in Forks, and everyone had trucks. Yeah. And I almost commented, I was gonna say something about like, damn, everyone's got a truck out here, but then I was like, I'm in the minority here by living in the city and not knowing that many people with trucks, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. Yeah, because that'd be a stupid fucking thing to say. Yeah. So so we will go visit that because I haven't been to Forks, and now I read the book and I need to go. Like, obviously, exactly. If everything doesn't look like that Bella filter from Instagram, I'm gonna be very angry. No, that was another part of the book that I really liked. Not just the fact that it was whatever local, but but like it was just very just the aesthetic and like her, like when they would go, forgive me, I did listen to it, so all of the details of where they went was unclear, but when they would like go on trips or go, I think they went camping at one time, like the scenery and everything is like a huge part of that area because that's all you have. Like you don't have like neighborhoods, you don't have like cityscapes, you have the ocean and you have the trees, and then if you go a little bit more east, you'll have
you'll hit the mountain, you'll hit the Olympics. Like,
Yep.
so it's just very, very remote. It's an incredibly remote area. Because it's actually like 4-hour drive to Seattle. Like, I don't like when they're like, let's just go to Seattle. Like, it's a hip and a skip, you know, like a hop and a skip. I'm like, okay. I mean, you can go through Port Angeles and then take the ferry, but it's going to take a while, but you know, you can get there. And then like, yeah, to go to like town, like if you need to go to a Walmart, you have to go to Aberdeen, which is like a couple of hours.
Whew.
And then like, you can, that's where the farthest northwest tip is of the states, other than Alaska.
Yeah.
I guess. Is Nia Bay, which I went to in high school. It's a big trip because I took a marine biology class because I knew we were going to go. You got to go on this trip to Nia Bay.
Nice,
that's why you took the marine biology class.
Yes.
So it's like the very, very tip of the peninsula. But
nice.
Yeah. So I just really loved kind of that feeling of just always being in the forest and it's raining, like very, very familiar to me.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Of all of the siblings, okay, let's go through the boys.
Okay.
Let's not include Carlisle because he'll beat all of them. So between Edward, Jasper, and Emmett, fuck, marry, kill.
Emmett is the oldest?
Yeah, I think technically
no one
he's
really
the
knows.
Yeah, I think technically he's the youngest. I think we find out more details and stuff as it goes on, but he was turned the most recently.
Okay.
But I think he was
which one's
the oldest
big one?
When he was turned. That's Emmett.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was my first love, to be honest. When she was like looking in the cafeteria or something at school. She was like, there's the big guy. And I was like, okay, noted. Yeah. Jasper's the one that's a bit more hands-on, right? Of the brothers. Felt like he was more part of the story towards the end.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's so like he's the one that's like quiet and
protective.
He always looks like he's got like a stern look on his face.
Oh, but he's also the one that helps her feel calm and stuff.
Yes, because his ability is like emotional manipulation.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, which we find out more details about later.
Okay.
Fun fact, he was also a Confederate soldier.
Oh.
So of all of the options for who to make a vampire, she decided, let's go with the Confederacy and turn one of them into a vampire, and that is going to be my character. So when I first read it, I was like, yep, Jennifer Meyer. So when I first read it, I was like, oh, Jasper seems nice. And then later I found out he was part of the Confederacy. And I was like, that seems a little unnecessary.
Just like little tidbit there.
Yeah.
That didn't like play into anything later to make it like interesting or anything.
It kind of not necessarily the Confederacy, but his time in a war does. And so at which point I'm like, did you need to make him part of the Confederacy? Yeah. You could have just made him like, I don't know, part of the Allied forces during World War II. Or at least
show some kind of like journey with that, like that helps his character or something. Like, what is the point of him being Confederate?
Yep. There isn't really one. It's just a little fun thing that we got to experience.
Yeah. Fuck Emmett, kill Jasper, and marry Edward, obviously. Yeah.
I think I would probably fuck Edward just to say that I could, because he's all like, I can't. And then marry Emmett, because he's like him and Rosalie are like the golden retriever black cat couple.
Okay.
The April and Andy couple.
Right.
I think I'd have more fun long term with Emmett. So
good. Yeah.
I'd still kill Jasper just because like you don't get to be part of the Confederacy and then not die. I'm sorry.
Someone's got to
You
kill
knew
you.
it was coming. Yeah, exactly. You knew it was coming.
You got to be killed. Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Love Edward.
yes.
Love him.
Oh, so you're Team Edward?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also love Jacob.
Yeah,
I mean, I love
think
them both.
in the movies, in both I'm Team Edward, but in the movies I'm slightly more Team Jacob than I am in the books.
Mm.
In the books, he's really like, I'm not a fan.
What makes you like hesitate?
So I mean, I haven't read these ones in a long time, so I can't remember like specific details.
Mm-hmm.
So in the second one, I'm gonna give slight spoilers to you, assuming you've seen a little bit about this online. So in number 2, in New Moon, there's a little incident at the beginning, and Edward goes all like, I'll never be safe for you. My family is never going to be safe for you. We're leaving. And they leave her behind. And so for like several months, she tries to recover. And it's Jacob that helps her recover.
Okay.
Because he kind of gets her out of the house. He starts fixing up some bikes. But then she kind of turns into this like adrenaline junkie to like see Edward. She's like hallucinating him. But at some point it kind of turns from like, I'm trying to help you to recover, into love me instead of him.
Right.
And I'm not like,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No.
Yeah, like I'm all for you helping her recover after that, because that's a huge heartbreak for her. Just trying to squeeze yourself into those little cracks is no bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does he like not really do that in the books or the movies as bad?
In the movies, I think it's conveyed a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, honestly, the books and the movies aren't that far off from the books.
Right.
So like, I mean, it's similar events, but I think Taylor Lautner just makes it a little bit easier to digest.
I wonder if, because the books being literally her perspective, Bella's,
Mm-hmm.
probably played a role in that, because
Yeah.
in film you can kind of see where the other person's coming from, and if you can kind of see Jacob pining a little bit more,
Mm-hmm. Whereas
it
from her
wouldn't
side,
have-
she can't see it.
her side,
Yeah.
and then all you hear is what he says. Like
Yep.
I found this book to have a lot of the most interesting parts be dialogue.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because the otherwise it's like, I went into the kitchen, I grabbed some orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like what like thought, action, action from Bella, which kind of spells out her day a little bit, but I wouldn't say Stephenie Meyer is like a poetic writer.
Yeah. No. I do think
which is good for like that age group and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I still liked it, and I still felt it like made sense for like her age and her character and stuff. But like, yeah, in terms of like the dialogue is then really the only time you really get to hear from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then it's through the veil of Bella's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so one, I would be interested to see if you want to read the other ones, because I do think her writing gets a little bit better, which is normal.
I do.
You want to read?
I do want to read the other ones.
Yes. Okay. That one.
I'm like, I want to see what Jacob's up to.
That's not even going to be part of the like cringe corner. That's just going to be. This is just a new series we're adding. We can fix the schedule for next season.
Yeah.
I
think it's necessary.
Yeah. Honestly, I can't even remember where I was going with that.
Me neither.
It is, yes. So I think
Jacob.
like, yeah. So I think internally, that's one of the reasons that like Bella as a character gets accused of being really boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think what doesn't help is that like, not that everyone can't relate to this, but not everyone can relate to like that kind of mundane stat. Like internal way that you cope with moving at that age, because just like everything is so new that it's all just like irrelevant, you know what I mean? So like when I moved to Phoenix, it was so hot. It was the middle of fucking July. We shouldn't have done, I mean, it was easier because it was like school wise, it was easier than moving in the middle of the school year.
But it was such a culture shock.
It was like the climate was insane. Like I thought I was gonna die that first summer. That first summer I did get heat stroke. Yeah. I've actually gotten it like 4 or 5 times since living out here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things where once you get it once, you're like more susceptible to it. So, but like the shock of just like the weather alone, suddenly living with my aunt and uncle and my cousin, all of that completely like made me ignore any other issues that I was having. It didn't mean they weren't there. I just wasn't thinking about them. Because I was just trying to think like, how do I get through this day?
Yeah.
What do I do now? Like literally, what do I do? I don't know this house. They had a pool, so sometimes I would go swimming, but sometimes it was just too hot to go outside, and like the sun was too like beating down too much. And so I really don't think people acknowledge that, like the way that kind of like stops all other processes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I also had kind of a move like that. It was when I was 16, which I think is such a like that age.
Yeah,
that age that you moved, like it's 12. Such a crucial time. When for like those like social connections to be just like tethered. So I had gone on a trip to Colorado to see my grandpa over the summer, and I came back, or my mom had called me while I was there and said that we're moving, and I didn't get to say goodbye to my church. I didn't get to like any of that. I didn't get any I was upset.
Yeah.
And my mom was upset. I could tell she was upset that my dad had just like made this decision. I didn't like get to have like one more Sunday. Like that I grew up with that church like since I was a baby. Like they all knew me as a baby.
That's your community. Yeah.
That's my community.
I remember leaving my first church like that, which I mean, granted, obviously I'm not really that Christian anymore, but like it's like that's irrelevant. It's like the kids it's
a family.
The parents who also helped like slightly raise you every Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then I went from 9th grade to 10th grade, and it was that I went to a smaller town and everyone grew up together and knew each other. And it was very much like that. And it's very isolating to like go to this new place. I feel like I coped with it probably a little better than you. I feel like I have more of like I like to kind of explore new things. Like that's like how I cope with it.
You were also like a little bit older.
Yeah,
so it was easier for you too. Yeah.
Because I was also in 7th grade, I was very depressed because I was homeschooled and isolated from people. I didn't have any friends and I was very like depressed. And then they put me back in school. But anyway,
well, I think too, like when I left Michigan, I had gone to school. So it wasn't just that I went to like when I got to Arizona, I was suddenly going to school with people who had only gone to school with each other. I had left the people that I had done that with.
Yeah.
So like the people that I'd gone to school with since pre-K.
And you like bonded and yeah,
exactly. Like we grew up together. And so that was also hard because as an only child, that was the closest thing that I had to like community my age, that and then like the church again. Some of the people from my neighborhood, so like all of those things I left.
Yeah.
And like in its own like little way, and obviously like I cannot blame my parents for this because it had a lot to do with like it was 2008 ish to that, like just before the big recession. And so we were kind of one of the first people to be affected by that, and like the like action leading up to the official recession. But it was like traumatic for me.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of my connection with Twilight was feeling that.
Yeah.
feeling that like
displacement.
yes, and that like emotion in Bella. And so she latches on to these few people that she meets first.
Yeah.
Even though like Mike is fucking annoying. And I can't even remember what the girl's name is. She's played by Anna Kendrick in the movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But she's the one that likes Mike.
Right. I can't quite remember either.
Yeah, she's the one who introduces all of them. She's like, and that's
Yeah.
Edward. Apparently we're all too good for him, or he's too good for any of us to date.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's why you latch on to the people that are kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Because you left everything you knew.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so their little love story. I did write a few notes.
Yes.
Maybe
okay.
I did. Did you? I love Edward because, and honestly, this is probably one of those instances where it's because he's a vampire a little bit.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like, I think, you know, it wasn't like we got really a lot of depth from him that we're used to in some of the other books we read. But he was, like I told you, I said, oh my gosh, I wish I had someone who just like wanted to smell me in like that age, like that just loved the smell of me and like told me, like I love that. And you know how much I love like smell stuff in books. I really like it in like Court of Thorns or Roses, like that's the Fae thing. And I'm like really like even at the end when I can't remember the villain's name was like, you have a nice smell, flowery in fact, but it's not as good as this like Alice or whatever. And I was just like, it's just funny how they just like, I love that. But like their dialogue when they're like kind of talking about it's like interesting because there's all of these like confessions of like love and like obsession. Like I also just love the fact that she's just like, don't go, like I know how like silly that is, but I love that. Like I love like when she's in the hospital and her heart races when he like starts to kiss her and she's just so embarrassed. Like I am feeling that. I'm feeling that so much because it's like I want it, but I'm also like embarrassed at how much I want it. Like and then he just laughs and then it makes her feel good, better.
I'm like reliving like teenage angst at reading this. It's funny because like I guess I don't know, is it funny? But I still have like sometimes a difficult time reconciling the fact that his obsession seems to be based around two facts. One, she smells amazing, like food wise, like she smells like a fucking good steak. And two, or like when your mom wakes you up with bacon on a Saturday morning and you can like smell it cooking throughout the house.
Or coffee.
Or coffee, yes. And two, the fact that he like can't read her mind.
Oh.
There's something so like, and this is going to be a little like critical, I will say. There's something just like so inherently misogynistic about that. Because it does kind of play on that like you're not like other girls trope in that like he can't just read her mind, like he just knows that everyone finds him super attractive, but because he can't really tell that she does, it's like this whole thing, you know. And then on top of that, the fact that he wants to consume her. That being said, it is also just like a vampire thing. But they're like the version of vampires in here, which was obviously going to be a conversation I was going to be having, she's lost all of the like sex appeal of the vampire. Because think about like Adrian in King of Battle and Blood. He bites and like you come, basically. This one is they don't just drink from their victims. they like eat them. They bite, they don't have fangs. It's just like their jaw.
Oh.
Yep. Because they've got like poison in their spit.
Oh.
Which I don't understand how they could kiss.
Yeah.
If, like, that's the
Yeah.
case. But anyone that they bite dies. And if they don't kill them in the process, then they turn into a vampire.
Jesus. That's like traumatic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not. And that does raise the, I mean, I don't know if it really raises the question so much as like reflects back on like her, like she's super Christian, super Mormon.
This like virginity thing.
Yeah. And like
consummation.
This, what is it? Like a little bit of that, a little bit of like, if we're going to say like the vampire, yes, if like the vampire bite equals sex in like story as like a metaphor kind of thing, then the fact that she's turning this into this very violent and like,
yes,
regardless of whether you like, whether it's the first bite or not, like if you're bit, you turn.
Right.
So that's why at the end he had to suck the venom out.
Yeah. There is this very it's very fear-based.
Yeah.
Because even he's like, I'm worried. I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, which there is a level that's also hot, but it's also problematic. Yeah. Because I noticed that. And okay. So that's what I noticed is that I liked. And now that you're saying that, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So like what I liked about that was that like, oh, you know, he's like, I could break your bones so easily, Bella. And you're like, and she's just like, oh, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it does happen with the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Real quick, hold on.
Oh yeah, you froze a little bit.
Yes. Oh, hold on. I'm looking it up.
Okay. It doesn't really matter, but he like steps on her and breaks her leg. Like, you know, it's just like really easy to hurt her. And then
James.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, the whole like, well, you can't, like, I need you all the time, but you can't be with me because it's dangerous kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there's this danger around it. And then like, but then it like makes her want him more. And then, but like Adrian, however, or even Castile, or like these other representations of vampires, like
all the way back to Dracula.
Yeah. Like, but at least Adrian and Castile like really earn the safety. Mm-hmm. They really earn it. Because they're trying to kind of balance that fear aspect of it, because Castile is a lot stronger than her at first. Mm-hmm. And then she's stronger than him.
Yes.
And then and Adrian and Isolde. Yeah. Adrian's much stronger than her. And like, so you feel this like very much sense of like respect and distance and like wanting to kind of earn that like space and with them physically. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's also specifically with those two, it's framed in a very protective way. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like they don't ever say that they're going to like lose control. Mm-hmm. There kind of is a little bit with Castile when he gets sick or when he gets like injured really bad.
Yes.
But she's the one that ends up losing control on him, and like Kieran has to stop.
Yes.
And so that's like, that is another really problematic part of
misogynistic.
Yes, it is.
That I just, like, because it's like, oh, I can't control. I'm scared that I won't, like Edward is square.
Cover your shoulders, cover your bra straps. Don't wear shorts because I can't control myself.
Yes.
Yes.
Edward can't control him. He's scared he can't control himself, which shouldn't make Bella feel safe with him.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
And that is problematic. Yeah, that's a very misogynistic way.
And I think what she's trying to convey, although like through this like Christian lens, is that like, because he's so hyper conscious of it,
right,
he should be okay.
He's taking responsibility for it.
Yes.
But he's not
that being said, he never
doing
really
anything
evokes
about
any
it.
confidence. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like if there was a point where he was like, I don't think you're safe with us, but I will protect you, that'd be way different.
Mhm.
But even like I said, like book 2 starts with him thinking that she'll never be safe with them, and the family runs.
Okay.
So that just like reverses all of the potential safety that she could feel at having this like very powerful being with her. But also, do we need to be protected? Because she ends up getting turned in the end.
Yeah.
And so do we need to be protected actually, or do we just need to be the protector ourselves? Which is like a strangely feminist notion in there. He doesn't like that she's turned, but they don't have a choice. He didn't want to turn her. He wanted her to live like a normal human life. And she was like, fuck you, I want to be a vampire.
Yeah.
And she becomes one, and then she doesn't need him to protect her. She can protect herself.
Right. And for some reason he doesn't want her to protect herself. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
like
weird.
that's misogynistic for her, but also a strangely feminist notion from Bella.
Yeah.
And like through that character and through that growth that she has.
And then like, but Edward doesn't meet her with that.
It takes him a little while, but he
comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what is this? Okay, so there's all these, I understand they're young, but there's all these confessions of love.
Yeah.
And obsession.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're like worried that he's like, why don't you move to Florida? It's like, because you fucking love each other, right? Like,
yeah.
And I get that you're young, but like, what are you guys even doing? And then, and then to like be in this like kind of relationship, and then like she's just never gonna be a vampire.
Yeah.
And you're just always gonna be in this like stalemate of like, I can only kiss you, Bella.
Yeah, you're never gonna have sex, is that it?
You're never gonna have sex, you're never gonna get turned, you're constantly going to be protected and terrified that he's gonna like like go too far at some point. Like
for a creature that's 117, he has so little foresight. Little foresight.
This is such a replaying of like my childhood sexuality in Christianity, because it's like, how long can you like go without having sex? Like, you know, like what can you do and what can't you do? Like,
like the rules and like the way the rules overlap, and like you're playing it all in your head, and you're like, but
and
if I do that,
eventually we have to get married or bite or something. Like,
yes. And I do think it's funny, actually, upon reflection, like in hindsight of like having read the books, God, what is it now? 14 years ago. Very long exhale. That in the actual like very surface level version of the plot, Edward really blends the bite and the sex.
Okay.
But also like kind of secondarily within vampires, bites and sex are, you know, they're similar. And so it is funny how much all of those arguments, if you change like I won't bite you to I won't, like, I don't know, I won't fuck you, even though she wouldn't say fuck, like any one of those arguments could be changed out with each other and like flipped around, and like how much that's getting like warped in his own thoughts of like their relationship. Like he's so insistent on keeping her pure. He's so convinced that he's a monster. And I really don't think he starts.
But his relationship is based on the fact that he needs to eat her.
Yes. And like, I really don't think he starts to see himself as any less than a monster until after she's turned. Because then he's like, if this beautiful, and I mean creature in like the romantic sense, if this beautiful creature can be a monster like me, maybe we're not monsters.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So much like guilt.
That's a good point, because he was just like, it took me everything not to just like take you to the side the first day I met you and like have you there. And it's like, well,
like, do you mean sexually or like carnivorally?
You know, like, are you in love with her or her smell?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Is it just intriguing because you can't read her mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun
yes,
fact.
that mystery of it.
Yes.
The mystery aspect of it, of like the feminine mystique or whatever.
She's not like other girls, so you just like you don't know what she's saying, like, or what she's thinking.
Okay.
It's like, okay, you can't read her mind. It doesn't mean that like it's really any more interesting than any of the other girls.
Yeah.
So a few years back, Stephenie Meyer released, I want to say it was Midnight Sun. I know that's a book.
Oh, is
that
it
she released
between the first and the second?
It's the first book from his point of view.
Oh, okay.
And what we find out is that he also sometimes can't read Charlie's mind.
Okay.
He can, but it's a lot harder. Which does kind of explain his nervousness around Charlie, because it's harder for him to get a gauge on the dad, right? Which does convey naturally as like teenage boyfriend, like being nervous around teenage girlfriend's father, like but it kind of brings this question of, are some people within the Meyer vampire Twilight universe meant to be vampires? Kind of. So like when she is turned, her ability to like block people from her mind, we find out in book number 2 that it's a little bit more than just him not being able to read her mind. Like there's other vampires that have like mind related powers, and she's immune to them. And so that gets enhanced when she turns.
Right.
And so there's the question of like, how far would that have gone? Like, honestly, as a human, probably not that far.
Yeah.
But once she's turned into something else, it enhances that.
Right.
And so it's like this question of
which power should be enhanced.
Yes, which power should be enhanced, and also like how do people that get turned into vampires, so like a power that we meet later on is like in like book 4 is somebody who can control the elements, and it's like, how did that manifest as a human? Or like Alice is kind of self-explanatory, because like we've got mystics now, you know, we've got like esoteric people who like have like psychic things. But like with Carlisle, he can actually like really heal, and his kind of unsaid ability is his ability to restrain himself from drinking, to abstain, because he works as a doctor all day long. He's in front of blood all the time.
Right.
And so how much of that is just a like part of the fact that he was a doctor and he took an oath and like that enhanced that, or like was he good at abstaining from other things as a human? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's one of the parts that I actually really like about her version of vampires.
Yeah. Is that there's this like inherent human thing that kind of just gets enhanced to a more magical degree. Yeah,
it's fun.
That's cool.
It's fun. Yeah.
So
yeah, now we have to read the other ones.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you like
I kind of do. I like listening to it. Because I just kind of want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, naturally, like.
Yes. So quick question. So we're going to watch the movie. We're going to do like a little watch party during the hiatus, right?
Yes.
Do you want to, would you be able to wait to watch the other movies until we've read the other books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Be a good like Halloween-y thing.
That would be fun. Yeah.
On Screener, right? And we'll invite everyone to join us, right?
Yes.
Is that how it works?
It's either Screener or Scener. I don't know what it's actually called.
That's it.
Scener.
Sorry. Okay. I just called it Screener because
that is what I called it for like weeks. That was, so I only discovered it because they were going to do like a watch party with a few members of the cast for the part 2 of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And then so many people tried to get on that it broke
server overload.
Yes. And then it also like, so they ended up doing it on Instagram Live, the like conversation with the cast. They had like David Harbour, the guy who plays Murray, Jamie Campbell-Bower and Joseph
Yeah.
Quinn was supposed to be there, but when they moved it to Instagram, he like couldn't make it. It lasted for maybe like I think like 15, maybe 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And then about 5 minutes after it ended, if you weren't already watching it, for some people, Netflix crashed. So I lucked out and I like turned it on immediately. And then like I went to the bathroom and then I started the episode. But for a lot of people, they couldn't view it then either.
Oh man. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, it like broke so
Yeah.
many internets. But that is how I discovered Scener. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to try to do to set up some watch parties.
Yeah, that'll be fun because we like
Yeah.
movies.
Oh God, yeah.
I still want to watch Northman with you so bad.
Yes.
I think you would
yes.
love it.
Oh,
It's-
I know.
It's got all of this witchy like
And then
like-
Vikings and
yeah,
shirtless men.
Vikings and shirtless men and like mythological like stuff
Mhm.
going on. You would love it. Cool.
Okay, cool.
So join us on Instagram so you can find out when our watch party is, or
Yes.
join our email list so you can watch out for when our watch party is.
Everything is.
Everything is.
Yeah. Our book clubs and our
Yeah. Join our Discord.
watch parties, our new seasons,
Yeah.
new episodes.
Yes. So next week we'll be doing our season finale.
Yeah.
And we'll get really drunk or
Yep.
high. Probably
It's
drunk.
legal now where we both are. So
Yes. Okay, so now we can be open about it, right?
yeah.
Just kidding.
I definitely was not high before.
No, never.
I've never done a weed, so
Where is Texas? I don't know.
I don't know.
What are we?
Way back in
Where were you? I don't even
1954,
know.
I think. So,
I don't even know where you lived.
yeah, that's fair. I didn't really know where I lived either.
Yeah. All right. Until next week.
Yeah.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.